If we could have the candidates come to the front, please.
He's now. No, I think my mom and dad's taking him to some Halloween thing or something. I know. Everybody, half the people in here come see him. I can't believe it. More people knows him than knows me.
Hello, good evening. I have 6 o'clock. Welcome to the League of Women Voters of Vigo County's Vigo County Commissioners Candidate Forum. We'd like to first begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. If you'll please rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. This is the second in the three-part series of candidate forums. I see many familiar faces of folks who were here last week. Our third and final forum will be here on Tuesday, October 1st for the Vigo County School Board. The League thanks our co-sponsors of these forums, the Greater Terre Haute Branch of the NAACP, the Terre Haute Tribune Star, the Terre Haute Wabash Valley Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority, Inc., and the Vigo County Public Library. And the Vigo County Public Library would like you all to know that September is Library Card Sign-Up Month, and the library would be more than happy to help you sign up for a card. So I am Carly Schmidt, co-president of the League of Women Voters of Vigo County and also associate professor of political science at Indiana State University. And I will serve as moderator for this forum again and our next forum as well. The League has continuously sponsored candidate forums in Vigo County for decades, and it is part of our larger effort to provide and promote voter education and information. Today is National Voter Registration Day. Many groups were active today, actively registering voters and helping them figure out what they need to be able to vote on Election Day, including our league, which was at almost every campus around town today doing that work. So thank you to all the groups that do that work. So this evening, we have the pleasure of having all the candidates running in the 2 county commissioner races. All voters, once early voting begins next month, will be able to vote for a candidate in each of these races. So a couple of housekeeping items. We ask that everyone please silence their phones and that we hold applause until the end of the forum. So we're going to proceed as follows. The question and answer portion of tonight's program will run until about 7:15. Then at that time, audience members will be able to come and have one-on-one meet and greets with the candidates until about 7:45. We're going to kick off with a 1-minute introduction by each candidate. Then we'll open it up to the question and answer portion. Audience members may submit questions on note cards. I already have a whole stack, but if a question pops into your head as we're working through the forum, raise your hand. We have folks around here who will give you a note card and collect it and bring it up here throughout the forum. However, you need to know that, as always, the questions have to be formulated for all the candidates, not for one candidate in particular. Each candidate's going to have about 90 seconds to respond to each question, and the candidates have opted to respond to questions. So we're going to run through every candidate. We'll answer a question, and we'll go back through and see if anyone has a follow-up or response to another candidate's comment. Then we will close with a 60-second concluding remarks at the end. So we have Robbie Piper up here front running as our timer, and so the candidates know to be wary of her and be paying attention. She will let you know when it is time to stop. All right, so we'll just go ahead and begin on this side. To my right, Mr. Schweitzer, if you want to open it up with a 60-second introductory comment.
Yeah, good evening, Legal One voters. Thanks for hosting this, as usual, and this is a really good crowd tonight. I think voter participation is important. I wish we could fill up the Holman Center with all of our registered voters to be able to be here tonight to listen to what we have to say coming up over the next couple months. This will probably be the only opportunity that all of us are together in the same room, so I hope there's some good questions and we have some good civil discourse or a good conversation. My name is Chris Schweitzer. I'm a father of 2, married to Jennifer for 10 years. I have an 11-year-old and an 8-year-old. One goes to school at Sugar Creek Consolidated now, and one is actually in middle school, which is hard to believe, at West Vigo. I served 2 years on the county council prior to deciding to run for commissioner. I wanted to learn how the budget works and things of that nature before I took that next step into the executive branch. Also ran for 13 years a small business with my father, where we grew it from 4 employees to about 11 employees, and he's been around for about 21 years, so appreciate the opportunity to speak to you all tonight.
Mr. Wegger?
I'd like to thank all the organizations that put this on. I'm a 2000 graduate from Terre Haute North Vigo High School, and after graduating, I went directly to work out of the Laborers Local 204, and for about the next 16 years, that's what I did. I've been a single parent since 2017, and for the last 4 or 5 years, I've been an asphalt worker. Born and raised in Vigo County. I did a lot of growing up in Sugar Creek, where I own property now, and I hope that this is a good forum tonight.
Mr. Casasilla?
Hello, everyone. I'm Tony Casasilla, a longtime resident here in Vigo County. I've lived here for 30 years and worked in television after graduating from ISU, of course. I played football at ISU, which I feel gives me a lot of leadership abilities there. But we have the ability to do great things here, and it all matters if we work together, and I think that's why we should be trying to figure out ways to fix our problems instead of pointing fingers and blaming people. Thank you.
Mr. Morris?
Good evening. Thank you for this forum and all of you being here. I'd like to mention a few things that the commissioners have been doing over the last year, and some of the things that are in process. I first want to thank all the great people that work for Vigo County that help make these things happen. So, one of the things when I came into office, we started working on some American with disability type problems within our infrastructure. You can ask questions and I'll expand on any of these things as we go along as well. We had some roof leaks that had been going on for 6-7 years that were corrected. Sale of excess equipment that was sitting around the county. Demolition of the mill dam. Drainage and culvert improvement to prevent flooding. Demolition of hazardous buildings, which none of that was happening before Chris and I came into office as commissioner. Changing all the lighting in the county buildings under some of the Duke Energy programs that nobody had implemented.
Thank you, Mr. Morris.
You're
We'll
welcome.
be able to come back to those.
Sure.
Okay, our first question comes from the League of Women Voters of Vigo County. We're going to kick off with the same question we had last time about the jail, which is a hot topic question for many folks in the audience as well. We'll start with you, Mr. Weger. Do you feel that the county has done a good job in helping to alleviate the overcrowding of the newly constructed jail? What steps do you think that we can do, that the commissioners can do, to take care of the situation that we have at hand?
So this is a big topic, and the more things like this you go to, the more you learn. And last week, Councilwoman Marie Thies mentioned that we rank high in number of CHINS cases, which is children in need of services. We also rank high with the crowded community corrections, overpopulated jail, which that seems almost like that's a cycle right there. So if you can break that cycle, 5 years down the road, 10 years down the road, maybe that jail's less populated. But if you invest if you invest more in today's youth, it's huge. And I was just at the labor dinner with a very good friend of mine who's a teacher, and we spoke to the mayor and we spoke to the sheriff about getting them out to schools and talking to the kids. Because if a kid goes home and he tells their parents, hey, the sheriff was at our school today, not because of any issue, but he just come to talk to us. Maybe down the road, that alleviates that jail problem, or that alleviates that community corrections problem. But you got to start with the kids of today.
Can you repeat that? There's like several parts to it, right?
Yes. Do you feel that the county has done a good job in alleviating the overcrowding at the newly constructed jail? And what steps could the commissioners do to take care of the situation that we are now facing?
Okay. I do believe this is a huge problem, obviously. It's not like the commissioners aren't addressing it. There are a lot of things. This is a very complex issue. There are so many things that add into this to make a jail overcrowded. So prosecutors, judges, police are all kind of somewhat handcuffed here. There's no place to put them if you arrest them, so we have to pay to house them in other communities. It seems like in 2023 we spent $450,000 in housing our inmates in other communities. To break that down, that's like $37,000 a month. And I think if we could put that money to be used in ways to alleviate the overcrowding in jails, such as strengthening community corrections, to put out some of our less violent offenders, more of them, so that we can have a space in that jail for the violent offenders. I know the next step would be to add another pod onto that brand new jail we just built. Seems unreal to be thinking about building onto a jail we just built. But that problem has not been solved about building a brand new jail. That didn't fix it. So we have to put our brains together and figure out a way to alleviate that.
Mr. Morris.
Okay. Well, what the commissioners have done in reference to that is one thing. This is, your courts have a lot to do with this, and of course, the enforcement people. But what the commissioners have helped with is with the work release and at the council level funding what we call dual diagnosis. And we have a very special person in our county government, Bill Watson, who has spearheaded that. It's gotten that recognition across the state, and it's keeping people out of jail. Another thing that's been implemented is the his mental health workers at the jail. Chris and I made sure that there was some office space for them to do that when we were building the jail. And now that's been implemented with the help of the health department. So we're working towards several of these things.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Schweitzer.
Yeah, the commissioners play a specific role in this. You know, it's our job to provide a safe and secure building for not only our inmates, but also the building security that has to work in there, correctional officers and things of that nature. We can get involved with the sheriff's office, courts, community corrections in an advocacy role, promoting more, better things to try to keep people from recidivism and coming back into the jail. You know, we have been proactive. Our dual diagnosis program that Commissioner Morris talked about, funded by the county council every year, and they seem to be putting more and more money into that program. It's a twofold program. The court may send you to community corrections to the dual diagnosis program instead of going to the Vigo County Jail. Upon arrival to community corrections, you're instantly met with a nurse practitioner and you're diagnosed either with some type of mental illness or whatever issue that person might be having. And you're also put on a state-insured program to get medicated for that illness, and then you're put into a drug treatment or rehabilitation program to get you back into the local workforce. We have all advocated for that. I think everybody up here would be for that. We're no different than any other community across the state who suffers from these same issues. It's a life cycle, like Mr. Wager said. I mean, people that grow up in those conditions, they're most likely going to turn out in those conditions. And I think we've invested $400,000 of American Rescue Plan Act money in our juvenile center. We invested $150,000 about a month ago into the Vigo County School Corporation for Project Aware, which is a mental social program to keep, to really focus on those kids that are having issues at home. So I think we're doing a good job at this point of trying to, fight the problem that all communities are facing.
Did any of the candidates want to respond to any of their opponents? Okay, we'll move on to the next question. From the Wabash Valley Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority, Inc., how will you support local businesses and attract new and diverse businesses to Vigo County? Mr. Casasilla, it's up to you.
That's a good one. Excuse me. Well, diversity is very important for a community to thrive, where everybody feels included. And I think the Chamber of Commerce does a great job of really supporting local businesses when they come in. I think that with some advertising and might be able to entice businesses to come if they feel like we're a culture where they would be accepted.
Mr. Morris.
Well, that's a pretty broad range. Small business, large business, or in between business. But I feel that we've done nothing but that because we feel like that we've tried to expand business. Business creates jobs. Jobs make people so they can raise a family and earn a living to be able to do that. So I really. I go down the list, but I'll let Chris go down the list of the businesses that come to the community. And new business startup, I've always been available to answer questions about that, but not necessarily in any group to do that. A few things with the University of Eastern Illinois a few years back, things like that, but nothing currently.
Mr. Schweitzer?
Yeah, so thankful to Mike and Mark and former Commissioner Kearns for letting me be on the Terre Haute Economic Development Corporation for 4 years now. Economic development is one of my favorite things. Those are some of the best conversations when a new business is considering Terre Haute and why we can explain to them why we think they should choose Terre Haute and be here. We are a diverse community. We have a lot of opportunity. Our cost of living is really low compared to other communities across the state, and we just have a great economic output. I mean, under Commissioner Morris and I's leadership, we've had nearly $5 billion of investment in the last 4 years. that's huge. That's competing with your Hamilton counties, your Elkhart counties, and things of that nature. So I think we're doing a really good job. Steve Witt with Terre Haute Economic Development Corporation does a great job at advocating on behalf of Vigo County. And to expand on Tony's comment with the Terre Haute Chamber of Commerce, I know it's the Terre Haute Chamber of Commerce, and I know Mayor Sackman's here, and we all support the city of Terre Haute, but a lot of those businesses that are part of the Terre Haute Chamber of Commerce are in Vigo County, like the industrial park up north at Tagleaf and things of that nature. So it's important that I think the county continues to fund programs within the Terre Haute Chamber of Commerce, and we support them as well as in their advocacy role in this community.
Mr. Weger.
Would you repeat that one more time?
Sure. How will you support local business and attract new and diverse businesses in Vigo County?
Child care, I believe, is a big thing. If you offer incentives for businesses to come here who offer incentives for child care, it benefits everybody all the way around. Single parents or parents that just barely get by, but child care is a big thing. So if businesses can offer something, with helping families out on that, would be big. The three individuals up here now, they all had, good things to say. But I think, you probably hear me say a lot about today's youth. Today's youth is tomorrow, them kids could be up here doing this or be out there asking questions. So we got to invest in them, and maybe business forums have a thing like this, but for business prospects to come and listen to the commissioners or listen to any other officials in Vigo County.
Okay. Any follow-up, Mr. Morris?
Comment?
Yeah.
You want to tell them about the investment we made?
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm sure we'll have a question about child care, but the Vigo County Commissioners, in partnership with the Vigo County Council, has invested $4 million in child care locally. $3 million to the NAACP University Early Childhood Care Center, and $1 million to Chances and Services for Youth New Child Care Center on the east side. We did take some heat because of the Indiana State University investment, because they are a public university that receives state funding. But we also recognize that we have a child care problem and a child care teacher shortage in this community. And as a part of that program, they're also going to educate those students that are potentially going through the child care program to become teachers, while also giving us an additional 125 seats in this community.
Okay. Our next question has to do with transparency. The commissioners have hired outside law firms in the past. The public was not given a lot of information as to why. Do you believe transparency is a must, and under what circumstances should outside law firms be hired? Do you know how much was paid to these law firms? Mr. Morris, you get to kick off this question. Would you like me to read it again?
No.
Okay.
I can think of two instances where we hired outside law firms. I'm not understanding why that has to do with transparency. All their transactions are open and above board. There's no hidden agenda there. So I really don't understand. I mean, I understand that the reports are made, and I just don't understand why would there be perceived to be any transparency problem because it was an outside law firm. I mean, we have to hire somebody within Vigo County to have transparency. Is that the question?
Not about Vigo County, but transparency in general.
Oh.
Okay. Mr. Schweitzer?
Yeah, so we hired Bose McKinney to represent the county when it came to gaming. Look, we're new to gaming in Vigo County, and we wanted to hire the best attorneys to represent us possible to make sure the taxpayers are getting the best bang for their buck when it came to local development agreement and the legislation that was created back in 2019, 2020 when a casino was moved to Vigo County. So we did hire them. All of our claims are, you can request to see our claims, what we pay the attorneys at any time. That's all public information through the auditor's office. We also hired Taft, an out-of-town attorney, big in animal code enforcement. I don't know if many of you know, but we have an animal problem in this community. One that, right now the Sheriff's Department only has one animal control officer, and we just actually, Commissioner Morris and Klinkenbeard and I met with the Health Department today to see if we can figure out different ways to help the Sheriff's Department with animal control. So yeah, those are the only two instances I know of. I serve on the Vigo County Capital Improvement Board. For years we've hired Kroger Gardis Regis out of Indianapolis to represent us. Again, those are all open records as well, so nothing I would say that's not transparent at this point.
Mr. Weger?
Could you repeat that again? They keep asking that, but sometimes
Yeah.
people answering.
The commissioners have hired outside law firms in the past. The public was not given a lot of information as to why. Do you believe transparency is a must, and under what circumstances should outside law firms be hired?
I think transparency is a must really with anything. And the mayor does a thing, mingle with the mayor at the pie company. And maybe if the commissioners offered something like that, where it was people from the public can come ask questions as to why things are like that are going on, or why outside services or lawyers or people are being hired. I think I might try to offer it to local attorneys, or at least talk to them and see what they thought, and then if they deemed it necessary to hire an outside service, then maybe go that route. But I think public forums where you can get the public directly involved. The mayor's thing is big. It's people go there, they ask questions, put him on the spot, and he fires off and answers all of them. But it makes the public feel like they're a little bit more involved in things.
Mr. Casasilla.
Yes, transparency is important. I think everybody knows that. We're dealing with taxpayer money here. I think everybody wants to make sure that you're getting the right bang for your buck, that you're being represented with your taxpayer dollars. Now, as far as the issues of an attorney, I'm not privy to which instance they're talking about, but I think sometimes there are conflict of interest where you cannot run your county attorney for every single thing. So I think in those instances, it's okay to go out and get different legal counsel. Now, do we have to get approval from every person to hire a person that we want to hire? I think we hire the best person for the job. Thank you.
Any responses?
Yeah, Tony, good comment. It is important to note that our county attorney can only do so much. We could have used our county attorney for gaming when it came to working with the Indiana Gaming Commission, but he only knows so much. And he would have been seeking advice and charging us to talk to another attorney. Therefore, we just circumvented that and hired an attorney that specialized in gaming. So,
Any other follow-ups? We have a lot of questions, of course, about Wabash Valley resources. This question, I think, though, this is to get your sense of how do you feel about the state taking away local control of the current pilot project. Mr. Schweitzer, it's up to you.
yeah, it's a difficult conversation. We dealt with this a couple of years ago with the legislature when it came to solar, wind, and other pilot projects like this, where commissioners won, home rule remained. We always fight for home rule. We always want to be the ultimate decision maker when it comes to big pilot projects like this, especially an experimental project like this. In this circumstance, you know, the commissioners did support Wabash Valley Resources early on the process, not knowing that they were going to pipe CO2 or sequester outside of their property. That's public record for anybody to view. We learned a little bit more about it, and a little bit more about it, and a little bit more about it as time went on. You know, ultimately, I think we're always going to advocate for home rule. The commissioners had an opportunity to circumvent or not allow a flaring, some type of methane flaring program in New Goshen. We were able to stop that because we did have control locally and did have the ultimate rezoning authority to do that. But when it comes to drilling or wells or anything, we have no local control over that. So, yeah, I mean, we were just put in a tough situation. Our only opportunity right now is just to advocate on behalf of the community for safety and security for them.
Mr. Weger?
I get it one more time?
Yeah. Did I lose it? Okay. How do you feel about the state taking away local control of the current Wabash Valley Resource Project, pilot project?
Anytime a state takes over, it's hard. You know, and you gotta, local government gotta fight as much as they can. But, you know, we've got a lot of resources here like Rose Holman, ISU, St. Mary of the Woods. You know, it may be worth talking to some people there, some students there, or professors and faculty and staff, and say, hey, you know, would some of your students be interested in, you know, and learn more about this, and maybe they can teach us some more about that. But when the state takes away from city and county, it's you got to do the best you can. You got to fight as hard as you can, and you have to, you know, at the end of the day, you got to try to make everybody happy, and sometimes that's tough.
Mr. Casasilla?
Well, at the start of the day, I thought that this couldn't be the case that our commissioners would actually think this is a good idea to put this stuff under our feet. I do know that it wasn't our commissioners that came up with that. I do wish our commissioners would have thought a little bit back at them. I think when big business like this comes in and they don't get any pushback from some of the things that they want to do, they tend to steamroll on. And sometimes when they get opposition to things coming in that we don't want, maybe they might think that it's not worth the fight. So I'm not really for sure. I've kind of misplaced the question there, sorry. What was your the full question?
How do you feel about the state taking away local control?
Oh, I'm against that. And unfortunately, it's already happened. It's kind of a done deal already. They've already taken away that control. Our ability now is just to make sure that our citizens are informed, that we have the proper amount of equipment to deal with the situations that we're dealt, and that our community is, we got to come together and support each other. I think if this was happening right down in the smack dab middle of our town, we'd all be pretty honking mad. And the fact that it's just on our north end of town, I don't think the community has risen up and supported these folks who live there.
Mr. Morris.
Okay, well, you said local rule, so I'd like to expand on that a little bit. One of the things that in my years in county government is unfunded mandates. And every year we get those things, and a state says we're going to do this, or we're going to change this rule or regulation or whatever, and we're going to have to pay for it. And I think that as physical or as an executive body of the county, that makes it very difficult. We're limited resources, what we can do and what have you. So I speak out against those things and have, but again, in general, it's unfunded mandates for many, many things over the years. So that's.
Any responses or follow-ups?
Yeah. So could you read that one more time, please?
I would love to.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on.
There really is.
Yes, I
Yeah.
understand. I know. When I mess up with this, you will have to remember that, okay? How do you feel about the state taking away local control of the current pilot project?
This is one of those things where if it doesn't affect everybody, there's a lot of people that might miss these issues. But I heard something recently where somebody said, Indiana's not a dump site for the rest of the country, and Vigo County is not a dump site for the rest of the state. So, when these things come about, they really got to be looked into. And another thing is, safety is the number one concern, but a lot of times you don't hear about what this does to people's property value.
Okay, anyone else? All right, we'll move on to the next topic. Do the candidates have an effective plan to address mental health challenges in our community? And I believe, Mr. Weger, you are up.
Mental health and addiction, two big things. And it almost goes back to what I said earlier about focusing on the youth of today, so they're not the population of the jail tomorrow, so they're not the population of community corrections tomorrow. But, I like direct involvement with things. If the commissioners can get out there, and you cannot talk to every person, you just can't be done. But if you can somehow get out there and talk to these people yourself, find out what the common denominator in all this is. Why is all this stuff going on? Why is there, not necessarily mental health, but addiction and things? It's rampant. It's not just Vigo County. This is all over the place that this is happening. And it can start with the kids, and it can just work its way through adulthood.
Okay, Mr. Cassasier?
I'm sorry, one more time.
Yeah. Do the candidates have an effective plan to address the mental health challenges in our community?
Mental health definitely is a challenge. Currently, I believe our community is lacking in doctors. I have a family of 5. We have utilized services but had to wait long periods of time to get any help. And this is coming out of, a hospital stay where we were requested to seek mental health. And it was over 6 weeks before we could see one. That seems to me like it's a huge problem. Coming out of a doctor prescribed it, you must go see one. 6 weeks, really? In certain circumstances, you don't have 6 weeks, especially when you're talking about the youth, because they're impulsive and they do things like try to commit suicide and things like that, drugs. And so I think we have our work cut out for us on this one.
Mr. Morris.
Well, an effective plan is an interesting comment. I'm not sure that we have an effective plan. I think time will tell. Here's the thing. We'd mentioned where we've put money to work and we've changed things within the jail, help support school corporation with their mental health programs, and continue on with, there's also with our first responders and trying to get them care on some of these traumatic experiences that they've had. We've been working with them to try to get, again, as Tony said, more immediate response. So whether it's effective or not, I can't tell you. What I can tell you is we're working on it and we're making some changes.
Mr. Schweitzer.
Yeah, quick story. Mental health guy. My close friends will tell you that 2 months into becoming a county commissioner, in the middle of the COVID crisis, I sought my own help. It's kind of emotional. The weight that gets put upon you when you get in this role is tough. The accusations against you, the things people say about you, is very difficult to deal with, and I had issues dealing with that. I would consider myself financially stable, insured, and it still took me almost 9 months to see a psychiatrist here in this community. Now imagine not having insurance and not being very well off. And then imagine the state telling you that you're statutorily required to fund the only community mental health center in this community, which is Hamilton Center, which is fine. But there's other organizations in this community that need help too, that can do more than just what Hamilton Center can do. We've seen this in our jail. We see this in community corrections. We see this in our schools. I have an 11-year-old daughter that has some emotional issues. She's just like me. Wears her heart on her sleeve. She takes everything to heart and does not know how to correctly act when people are firing at you like that. It's a problem. The only thing we can try to do is try to hesitate, but just get out of that lifestyle at a young age. I believe they're at a certain age, you're going to make attempts, but you may not have the opportunity to get out of that lifestyle. But at a young age, if you can capture that young child and tell them everything's going to be okay, life can be so much better for all of us in Vigo County.
Okay. Any follow-up? Okay. Are you concerned about the northern Indiana counties, such as Boone County, perhaps wanting and needing to pipe 100 million gallons of water per day from the Wabash River aquifer? And what would you do, it's a two-part question, what would you do to protect Vigo County's water supply? And I believe we are up to you, Mr. Casasilla.
Okay. Well, let's see here. I do not believe that we should be messing with the river. I think we need to start protecting our land and things that we live on and our air. Water, air, land, sea, whatever, that is not something that we can mess around with. There's no undoing it. And I just don't know if they've done a study to kind of see how that would trickle down. And I do mean trickle down because we are down river from where they're planning on taking it out from. So what are we going to be left with? Dry riverbeds? Or will it not affect us at all? I have no idea. If they have an idea, maybe that would make my decision a little easier. But I still think they should pay for the water the way everybody else does and try to get it from someplace else, because I don't think that's a risk I'm willing to take.
Mr. Morris?
Okay. One of the things that have always been a plus for this community is availability of abundant water. So when this program came up, I started getting into it immediately. This development, You know, one of the interesting things, they're supposed to take $1 million into Lebanon, Indiana a day, 11 million gallons of water a day, but where's it going after that? And I have not heard that yet. Been trying to find that one out. But at any rate, everybody knows that water is a valuable resource, and we've just been spoiled by having lots of it. So yeah, I'm following it and trying to get the different studies and watch how they've handled it at the state level through the Indiana Economic Development Corporation, and then passed it off to the IFC, I think it was. And so it's just, they're just trying to figure out a way to get 1 million gallons a day of water, and I don't see any positive effect on our county. So we'll continue to work and see if we need coalition of counties up and down the river and study what's going on.
Mr. Schweitzer?
Yeah, I think it's too early to take a stance on the LEAP project alone right now. The Indiana Finance Authority did a water study, and of course they have their claims. I know there's some private companies doing some studies as well. Kind of shifting gears a little bit is I think the IEDC has done a great job of economic development in the state of Indiana, probably one of the top 5 in the country. But at some point, that IEDC investment is going to have to go to getting people hired to do all the jobs that we're getting. I know the local labor force, unions, everybody has a help wanted sign in their window, and I think at some point we're going to have to switch gears and just realize that, yep, the economic development is here now. How do we get these people involved in the hiring process and get them hired to better our community? LEAP alone had the opportunity to be a part of a couple task force meetings in Indianapolis. I think it's just way too early to tell. Who knows what the project is even going to happen. They have proposed some ideas. I don't know of anything in writing yet. So I think it's just kind of a waiting game. I know former Commissioner Kearns, now Soil and Water District Director, is doing his own presentation about water here coming up in the next couple weeks. Look forward to attending that.
Mr. Weger?
The LEAP project, it's big. I mean, and there's not, everybody is not familiar with that, but if you think about filling up your bathtub at home with the plug in it and taking it out potfuls at a time, well, that's eventually going to be empty unless you start putting that, unless it's being put back in at the same rate that it's coming out. So whether it's in Vigo County, whether it's in a northern county or whatever county, if they're wanting to take, and I've heard so many different numbers, but I think the last one was in excess of 350 million gallons annually out of there. I think that's a terrible idea. I mean, I would love to talk to these entities that claim this is a good idea somehow, but I think that's a bad idea.
Okay, any follow-up? Okay. Our next question is, what is your position on the county trail system and the future of trail development in Vigo County? Mr. Morris, you're up.
Thank you. One of the first things that happened as commissioner was a letter showed up on my desk from the STB and from the feds notifying us they were going to abandon the rail line. And I read that about 5 times and took off with it because I've been a member of the National Organization of Rails to Trails for many years, and I know what can be done. I've studied different communities and what the effects on the communities were, and how you could attain these things and how to get it done. We got recently a $1,914,000 for Next Level Trails, which the state of Indiana has been promoting trails across the state. And that there was a couple of things that made it possible. One, the tremendous effort of Vigo County to help fund that, and because we were way over the 20% funding of the county. And the other was connectivity, which our program is to connect Riley to Terre Haute, and with almost 6 miles of trail. So I'll stop there.
Okay, Mr. Schweitzer?
Yeah, super supportive of trails. I know there's a lot of runners in here tonight. Also recognizing that we ranked 89th or 90th in overall health in the state of Indiana as a community. So whatever we can do to get people out and mobile and working on their health or fitness, I think we should try to do. Also recognizing it's a really cool economic development tool. When you're recruiting candidates for certain positions in our community, take President Coons at Rose-Hulman, and he's not needing to hire a professor. One of the biggest things for him is being able to say the Heritage Trail runs through Rose-Hulman and right next door. So they are tools, they're assets. Anytime there's a available lease on an old rail bed, I think every community will take advantage of that if they have the opportunity to do so. In this next round of trail building for us, I believe at some point we're going to connect Riley. Well, I know we're going to connect Riley to Terre Haute, and then Terre Haute to West Terre Haute, and then West Terre Haute to St. Mary's, and then going up north through the Heritage Trail all the way to Park in Vermilion County. One of the only communities in the state that's going to be able to do that. So I think we should keep moving on trails.
Mr. Weger?
One more time, please.
What is your position on the county trail system and the future of trail development in Vigo County?
I think trails are a wonderful idea. Those are beneficial to folks of all ages. And I know this isn't a trail, but the walkway across the grade going into West Terre Haute was a massive thing. I mean, that was not accessible. But trails in themselves, those are great. I mean, it gets people out, it gets kids out, it gets them doing things. And as long as you can, if you could get grants, state funding, that would be great. So trails is, it's a big thing. But you got to keep it in, you got to keep trails and county roads and things like that to where they're not, one of them isn't overshadowing the other one.
Mr. Casasilla?
Obviously, I think trails are a good thing. Taking an eyesore of a dilapidated rail line and turning it into a workable space for our community to enjoy and exercise, it sounds like a no-brainer. It would be kind of nice to be able to promote, once this all gets kind of completed and tied together, some nice mappage and stuff so people can kind of understand how to utilize these trails. I've lived in this community for a long time, and I've never stepped foot on one unless I actually took pictures of it in my previous job. So thank you.
I don't know, Tony, you lost a lot of weight. You look good.
I have, but that's walking door to door. That's
I don't recognize it.
Any follow-up? Okay, we have a lot of questions about the openness of government to the people it serves. So I'm going to go with this question. If elected, what would you do to make sure that the public has access to commissioner meetings? For example, making sure that the agendas are published at least 24 hours prior to the day of the meeting. And Mr. Schweitzer, I think you're up.
Yeah, so I'll touch on the agenda issue first. We're not like the county council where we make appropriations, so we have to advertise it. The agendas for us are very difficult because we could have something coming in literally 30 minutes or 20 minutes before a commissioners meeting that we're going to sign a contract on that a department brought to us. So absolutely, we could throw together an agenda that says claims and minutes that we're going to approve, but the next 3 or 4 things on that agenda might be pretty difficult to come up with. There are some times when we have literally no business at all but still have a meeting because we have to approve payroll and claims for the week to pay all of our vendors. So the agenda conversation is really tough. The openness of county government, we understand the meetings at 9 a.m. are tough for people that work 8 to 4 jobs or 8 to 5 jobs or even night jobs to get to. But it's also tough for some of our employees who have children as well and have maybe secondary jobs in some situations that have to leave county government and go to their second job, and having those meetings at 6 or 7 o'clock at night is difficult for them as well. We've ultimately found that the best time for us is 9 a.m. on any morning, probably. We went with Tuesdays because that's what commissioners have done in the past. But I can say with 100% certainty that this group of commissioners has held open forums more than any other group of commissioners in the history of Vigo County when it came to Markham Mill Dam, what to do with the old Vigo County Jail, anything. We've had as many public forums as possible. So I think we're being proactive in that. Certainly we can improve upon it. Everybody probably can. But right now, Tuesdays at 9 a.m. is where we're going to stick at for the time being.
Mr. Weger?
One more time again.
Yeah. If elected, what would you do to make sure the public has access to commissioner meetings? For example, making sure agendas are posted at least 24 hours prior to the meeting.
The agenda thing, I would have to be in there to figure that one out. But I'm going to give the mayor another shout out here again. He does that. He does all kinds of stuff. He does the mingle with the mayor. He does the slice with them. I love community involvement. I like talking to people. I like engaging with folks. I love going to small little town halls and talking to them people. So I think if you would put on, things like that, get with local businesses for an after hours thing, whether it's at 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, coffee shops. I'm sure a lot of local businesses would love to promote their business, but it would also get the community involved, where they can ask questions. They can feel like they're part of the whole entire process.
All right, Mr. Casasilla?
Not being in that position, I really can't talk about the agenda item, as Chris said. If that's the way it is, that's the way it is, about things coming to you late in the game, not being able to post it. I understand that. But you do have meetings every Tuesday at 9 o'clock. If you can't make that, it's web streamed, right, live streamed, and you can watch that anytime your heart desires at your own convenience. I don't know what more. Like he was saying, you can have these meetings, but it'll be the same 5 people that show up, and those people will either watch it on the live stream or show up to the meeting. Thanks.
Mr. Morris?
For a year or two, we had meetings every other week on Tuesday morning, and to help with that situation and to keep business of the county government moving, we changed a weekly meeting. It's pretty simple, straightforward. Like I say, it's a lot of the housekeeping type business, approve the payroll, approve the budget, and some contracts for different things. And this last minute thing is not a function of something that we're doing. It has a function of the highway department or the recorder's office or somebody having a new contract. We have to approve all the contracts, and they're very mundane type of contracts, really. But and we review them before we do approve them too, by the way.
Okay, any rebuttal?
Yeah, just, our deputy auditor's here, Cheryl. The process is to make her job as easy as possible, although I know we make her job difficult at times. The reason contracts come to the commissioner's office is to make it easier for her, because if you have contracts coming from every department in county government, it's going to be really difficult to keep track of, because some departments have their own legal counsel, some departments have consultants that the commissioners have never heard of, but it's our point to try to vet that contract with our legal counsel, make sure everything's okay, and then supply that contract to the auditor's office for them to record and keep.
Any additional follow-up?
Well, and if we're not clear on it, we table it. That's it.
Okay, all right. Either of the opponents have anything? Okay, all right. Our next question, Mr. Weger, you are up. Are you satisfied with the spending of the American Rescue Plan Act ARPA funds? Is there another project you would have liked to have seen funded?
Well, there's a lot of projects out there that are probably worthwhile. And I tell you, this is one of those things where I've talked to a lot of current and past elected officials, and they say, you're never going to know exactly the ins and outs of an office or what all you have to deal with until you get in there. But as somebody said at last week from the county council, they said, everything is easy in hindsight. It's easy to, in the moment, you think you're doing the right thing. In hindsight, you could have spent that money a little bit different. But I think investing in, I'm going to bring up the youth thing again, after-school programs for the youth, or just things that you can get kids involved in that is going to be beneficial for them now, but down the road is going to be beneficial for, even more so for them.
Mr. Casasilla?
Can you read that one more
Yeah,
time?
sure. Are you satisfied with the spending of the American Rescue Plan Act funds? Is there another project you would have liked to have seen funded?
Well, I can't really sit here and judge these men for making the decisions that they made. Early on, the requirements to divvy that money out, and it changed. So what wasn't allowed early on was then allowed later on. So I think they did a pretty good job just trying to get that a massive amount of money dealt out to our community. I would have liked to have seen, maybe, I'm still stuck on this community pool. We were promised 16 years ago from our former mayor that, our kids would have a swimming pool that they could swim in that would be open most of the year. So I kind of would have liked to see a joint city-county pool built and have some of that ARPA money spent on that.
Okay, Mr. Morris?
Yes, I'm satisfied, but understand that early on, we decided that we would have the elected officials be the responsible parties for distribution of that at the county level. Council and the commissioners, that's 10 elected people. So these are your representatives. Those decisions were made jointly, but personally, one of my objects was to get a good return on investment, trying to look backward and forward to see where some of these things were going to go and how they were going to benefit the community. Ultimately, that money was Vigo County money. It was for replacement of wages and lost time and different things, and that's what it was supposed to be. We expanded it to other items, and I'm very pleased with those agencies and things that got that money. We hope, one of the things. You got 30 seconds left? Good. One of the things we funded in joint with the city was the Humane Shelter, $250,000 from each agency. This was to build spay-neuter facility and holding facility. And that hasn't worked out quite the way we wanted it to because they can't find a vet to operate that. Now, that's not the Humane Shelter's fault. That's not our fault. We built the facility. So we've got some work to do, and we'll continue to work towards that. Thank you.
Mr. Schweitzer?
Yeah, I've been taking jabs at our auditor for the past 3 or 4 days. He gave the commissioners a C- on the way we appropriate these funds. I lean more toward like a B+ or A-, but we try to touch every corner of this community with that money. Now, understanding that there are rules and regulations you can spend this money on, and trying to basically give $21 million out to local groups is really stinking hard. It is really hard. Everybody's asking for something, but we wanted to make sure that we focused on the things that our community really struggles with, which I mentioned earlier was $4 million to child care. One of the biggest issues in this community. Local elected officials hear it every day. Hey, this person doesn't have to work because their child care is their whole paycheck, so they might as well just stay home. Well, I don't disagree. I mean, childcare is very expensive. We gave support to Happiness Bag, and I have the whole list here, full transparency. I printed it off because I knew we'd probably get this question. We gave $12,500 to each volunteer fire department. Manna from 7, which is a local organization, that food pantry. St. Mary of the Woods for an equine center. That was another controversial thing, but it's a tourism thing. Equine is huge at St. Mary's, and there are people that travel all over the country to go to St. Mary's for that specific program and to see horse things. Swope Art Museum, all of our museums really. Children's Museum, Community Corrections we invested more in, Vigo County Juvenile Center, School Corporation, Sheriff's Department, Wabash Valley Fair Association. But it's important to note that our council had a role in this too. And the council demographic is more Democrat than Republicans, and commissioners are Republicans, but we found a way to work together on behalf of the community.
Okay, any follow-up?
The transportation, public transportation on the outskirts of the city, like towards St. Mary's, things like that would be good investment to, help folks get out among the community.
Yeah, just to comment on that, we're thankful for former Mayor Bennett and current Mayor Sackbun for allowing the bus service to come to West Terre Haute still. That's huge for West Terre Haute residents. I'm really thankful for Brandon to still fund it. I know the usage is absolutely abysmal, but everybody complains about not having transportation. Thrive does do a great job with community transportation. If you want to give them a shout, they'll take you anywhere you need to go. But Courtney, I would agree with you that county transportation at some times is very difficult.
Okay. We have, there's a deep concern in our community about our quality of education, and although we have a school board forum here in a couple of weeks, there have been some questions about how do you see the role as commissioner in working with our local school district to ensure that they have adequate funding and the resources they need. So Mr. Casasilla, that is you.
Well, I'm not really familiar with the pot of money that goes to the school corporation yet, but I believe that, we do have a role. The schools are in Vigo County, and I think we need to find ways to make sure that we have issues. We have things before us like, the schools. Everybody wants a new school. We've tried to get referendums to pass to build new schools. That didn't pass. And we're kind of stuck. There's more to education than brick and mortar. So I think we've invested in the teachers to try to bring quality teachers to maintain and stay here. We have teachers are in shortage right now. So we always have openings in the schools, and there are subs teaching classes right now. So I think making sure that we have a beautiful school, ISU, that teaches teachers, and it would be really nice to kind of stop that brain drain and get them employed with our schools.
Mr. Morris?
Okay, what was the funding and what?
And just resources that they need.
Funding and resources, okay. One of the first things that Chris and I walked into was a little bit of a COVID problem. And one of the things that we got into immediately was the expansion of fiber optics for learning around the county. And we attacked that and got fiber optics run to most of the way we did it, we got fiber optics run to most of the firehouses around the county, and then school corporation did their bus thing where they had their Bluetooth there where you could pull up and try to learn. Now, obviously, you can pick all these things apart, but I'm telling you what the county did to make some of those things happen. So. Again, we've helped with the mental health program, with the security in the schools a little bit. We have, but they have a pretty good sized budget, so I guess they may have to attack some of the problems themselves.
Mr. Schweitzer?
Yeah, I can tell you the current role that we play is we no longer receive riverboat funding because we have a casino in our community now. Any county in the state of Indiana that did not have a casino in their community, they got a share of funding from casinos that did have casinos in their community. We took some of that, that's former Commissioner Anderson and Marvel and Anderson, decided to fund school resource officers, and we have continued that tradition. Just a small part of it, not much, but that's kind of a role that we currently play. But at some point, this probably isn't the commissioner's role unless you want to get involved politically, but there is a generation of Vigo County residents that are going to have to take the brunt of a referendum. The tough conversation is our high schools. They are all extremely old. In some situations, they're not safe. They're not very accessible. And I think that's a conversation we're going to have for the next 2 or 3 years, 4 years, until that generation decides to pass a referendum on our property taxes. Do we support that or do we not? When it comes time to that, I think we have to hold the school corporation accountable. I think we have to, lean upon our school board members and make sure they're making the right decisions, or our opinion of the right decisions, on behalf of the community, and then take that step forward to new schools.
Mr. Weiger?
One more time, please.
Yeah, let me find it. How do you see the role of county commissioner working with the local school district to ensure that they receive adequate funding and resources?
Any funding that can be allocated for the schools is an absolute must. But one problem that you see today, last week I'm sure everybody heard about the issues at Otter Creek. I was at the fairgrounds for a 5th grade field day. that the Soil and Water was doing, and I got a text message, and I'm just going to read it. It says, "Hey Dad, it's Brody, can you come get me? We went under a lockdown, I'm using my friend's phone, and I'm scared." So I went to Otter Creek as soon as I got that. The sheriffs were there, and they were doing a fine job. But those kinds of things is what no parent wants to get. So figuring out how to keep that out of the school system, that's a big thing. But I think when I was at the fairgrounds, Jesse Walker was there, and I remember him coming to my school 30 years ago when I was in elementary school. So if we could get any official, the mayor, the sheriff, anybody to get just to be involved, commissioners go to a school and talk to kids, just so there is some kind of direct involvement, in their lives.
Okay, any follow-up? Okay. This is for Mr. Morris. You're going to respond first to this question. What are your priorities for improving social services such as housing assistance, food security, and support for vulnerable populations?
Well, I thought about that quite a bit, and I'm not a specialist in some of those areas, but what we have done is we've invested $5 million with Thrive to and had a study done on housing that indicated that we're short of housing in all areas, not low income, not high income, anything, all across the board. So they've implemented a program to encourage builders to build out things. I think one of the things we helped with the Veterans Village, and that's coming to fruition up there on Maple Avenue. It's kind of a tiny home type of thing. It was a long time coming. There's a lot of stumbling blocks in that, but it's out of the ground and about ready to be sited. I'm just a big one for jobs. This community did not have jobs available a few years ago, as hard as we tried. Now we've got things where people can go to work and make a living, and I think that's been some of the problems with the community, is just having good jobs. So that's the way I'm going to continue to attack it.
Mr. Schweitzer?
Social services is difficult. Huge shortage of social service workers. We're seeing that in all of our mental health and drug addiction facilities here in the community. They can't find people to work. We're thankful to the Indiana legislature. Indiana Health First Plan gave the health department some funds to hire 2 social workers that we now have working in the Vigo County Jail. Some things that some of those inmates face are as simple as having government ID, their social security job, or a social security card in order to apply for a job. I mean, it's just some basic things that we can probably do a lot better, but we also have to find the people willing to participate in that job nowadays. Mental health is tough for those people suffering from mental health, but also being a person that deals with a person with mental health every day is very taxing on them as well. So, thankful to Governor Holcomb, thankful for the legislators for giving us the opportunity to have additional funding in our health department. But right now, that's kind of what we're doing as county government, is just getting those people in the jail, meeting with people one-on-one, men and women both, and making sure they have the proper documentation, proper things necessary to get them back in some type of healthy lifestyle once they get out of our jail.
Mr. Weger?
I hate to ask.
Yep. What are your priorities for improving social services such as housing assistance, food security, and support for vulnerable populations?
A friend of mine works at Hamilton Center, and it's tough. I know it is. She says it's tough. Some, places are short-staffed, and it's hard for folks to get the help that they need. But it might sound small, but community gardens. If the county's got vacant properties, places where you could start something, would be beneficial for people. And during the council, one of these last week, I don't remember who it was, but they brought up volunteers. If you can get volunteers out there to help folks and get them on some kind of path. But social services, it's a big thing.
Mr. Casasilla?
Our social services are pretty taxed. I mean, we have very limited volunteers. Volunteering is kind of an oddity. We have a lot of good volunteers, but we just don't have enough to run programs like we would like to see. So you're kind of subjected to get what you get, right? I mean, you're not paying for this service. You might not even be getting the help that you actually need. But, the homeless problem that we have in Vigo County, and I do think we have a homeless problem in Vigo County, we only have one shelter, and if you're not able to follow the rules in that shelter, not that I'm saying anything against it, they have to have rules, but not everybody falls into that category, and they don't want to stay in that place, so that leaves them homeless. I think they just recently did a study, homeless count, and they said that it has raised dramatically in elderly. So it's actually, we're like 1 or 2 paychecks away from being evicted, and there you are on the street. It is not that hard to conceive this problem. So I don't exactly have the answer to this problem yet, but given being able to speak with some folks to be able to crack that code. But I think that you got to bring everybody together that you know is here and get everybody to work together on the same problem.
Any follow-up? Okay. Mr. Schweitzer, back with you. What is the number one priority you want to accomplish as a county commissioner?
Yeah, the role in mental health and substance abuse. I mean, like I said, $5 billion worth of economic investment in this community is huge. The jobs are there, but the people applying for those jobs are not. If there's an education factor, there's a home factor, there's a human factor in all of that. And getting those people out of those situations and getting them, want them to desire to have a job and get themselves out of that situation that they have been in for so long. That's the human side in all of that. And I don't know if there is a true answer to that. I know we all have a family member that battles with something every day that we may not even know about, and how do we help those people? So I don't know what the answer is.
Mr. Weber?
One more time.
What is the number one priority you want to accomplish as county commissioner?
So you got to kind of look at this as a 5-year, maybe 10-year down the road kind of thing. And if you can, like Marie was saying, if you can lower the number of CHINS cases, of children in need of services, lower the number of the people in community corrections, lower the jail population, make housing more affordable, make, produce more jobs, better wages. You could really go on with this list forever, but if you want people to be glad that they live in Vigo County. You don't want kids to go to school scared, and you just want everybody to live a better life.
Mr. Casasilla?
Well, I think the jail is still my number one priority. I think that the money going out is a huge waste of money. I'd rather put that money into something that we own, whether it be another pod or investing in the community corrections, as I said before. Mental illness is a problem, and drug abuse, and they all lead back to the jail, and it all ties back together. So I really think that, again, like Chris said, I don't know that there's an answer to this, but we have to stop this cycle somewhere. And like he was saying, have some help in the jail to kind of give the inmates the help that they need to kind of be productive citizens when they get out.
Mr. Morris?
Okay, my number one job is to continue doing what I've been doing, which is work for the people of Vigo County. We work on these problems every day. Obviously, we've got a broad range of these problems. We come up with solutions, we implement programs, and we try things. And some of them are more successful than others. One of the big things is always, I've got a good idea for something, but I need the funding. I'm pretty good at figuring out where we can get the funding for those programs. And, I drive costs out of other programs, and then I want the money back to do another program. So that's my number one goal, to continue doing those things for Vigo County.
Any follow-up?
Yeah, just again to reiterate that there are some disadvantaged folks in this community who are going to go to jail and going to get out of jail and go back to that same disadvantaged lifestyle that they had. And the commissioner's role in this is, again, just a building. There is a whole nother system, judicial system, that has to help in this situation. We have advocated for 2 legislative sessions now for an additional court in this community. The commissioners have advocated for that. Our judges have too. We think an additional court that focuses on specifically mental health or drug addiction to just keep those violent criminals in jail and those people that are just struggling with life issues out of jail and the help they need. So that's probably our number 1 focus.
Okay, anyone else? All right, our last question for the night, and it will start with Mr. Weger. I tried to make sure it was all even, but we're starting where we began. What is your vision for the future of Vigo County over the next 10 years, and how do you plan to achieve it?
I knew that was going to be the last question, because it's almost what I said in the previous one. But, you know, it's one of those things where a lot of people try to think of a quick fix in the minute, and that doesn't happen. You know, their mental health, addiction, those are big, and they are not going to be cured overnight. You got to look 5 years down the road, 10 years down the road. But if you start at the bottom, start with the kids, you know, less children in need of services, you know, that will grow into less people in community corrections, less populated jail. But, you know, jobs is always a big thing. You want more jobs. You want affordable housing. You want people just to be able to live a life that you know, that they're happy with. And, you know, I think Vigo County, you know, I ain't looking to make Vigo County great again. Vigo County's always been great, but there ain't nothing wrong with making it a little better.
Mr. Casasilla.
Well, I believe in planning. I think the long-term planning is essential to our growth. We also need to stop our decline in population. If we're declining in population, we are dying. And we need to figure out a way to stop that brain drain. We have all these colleges. I saw the mayor posted something on Facebook that we just received some college town in Indiana. That's fabulous news. That's a great thing to kind of hang our hat on, but we need to keep some of these students to stay here and bring up their families. Because we need the smart, intelligent, and energetic young people to take over and you know, lead. And that's why I'm here.
Mr. Morris.
Well, my vision's pretty simple. It's to solve all these problems. Now, that may be unrealistic, but that's my vision. Now, how you achieve that is I'm going to continue to work and work on them every day. I don't work on the same ones every day, but I'm going to continue to work at all of them until they're solved. That's it.
Mr. Schweitzer?
Yeah, you know, I simply just want everybody in the community to have equal and fair opportunities. Planning is very significant. We try to plan as much as possible, but legislators change, governors change, presidents change, administrations change, and the goal changes all the time. And you can plan as much as you want, but you still have to be reactionary in a lot of situations. We do plan our roads, we do plan ditches, you know, the everyday things, the buildings, things of that nature. But the community cheerleader side of this is consistently going to Indy and making sure the donut counties still recognize that Vigo County's over here, and we want a share of that funding that you're just giving to those groups, and we want to be involved in those processes. And I think it's important that we still play a role in Indianapolis. You know, we continue to go over there and advocate on behalf of our community, but everybody deserves a chance in Vigo County. I want my kids to have a chance in Vigo County, my grandkids to have a chance in Vigo County. Hopefully that's a long ways away, but just everybody have a fair shot.
Any follow-up to our last question? Okay, we'll now turn to our concluding remarks. We will start with Mr. Morris, since we ended with you last time.
How long do we have?
60 seconds.
Okay. Well, something I didn't get out earlier is I wanted to thank our Highway Department of Vigo County. We talked about first responders. We had a couple of events, June last year, June this year. Guess who was out there first responding? The responders couldn't get through. and our highway department, your highway department really came through for all of you. Tremendous job, and that's part of the commissioner's job to run those departments.
Mr. Casasilla?
Sure. I've never thought that I was ever going to be a politician. I've worked in the same job right after I graduated college, and it wasn't until recent that I decided, you know, I have more to give. I have more to do. I'm not done yet. And I want to be the voice and the ears for the people. I want you to be able to come to me and tell me your problems and let me help fix them. I know there probably will be a situation that I might be a little bit out of my element. That's why there are three of us. We work as a team. I'm very big into teams. Growing up, I played a lot of sports. I can follow and I can lead. And not every day do you have to be the leader, but it helps when you can be, right? So I'm looking forward to this challenge, and I hope I can make you proud. Thank you.
Mr. Weger?
I'm glad Mr. Morris touched on that storm earlier back in June. I got back in town right after that hit, and from the north end out to Sugar Creek where my place is, it took over an hour and a half to get out there. And they were out there, the crews were out there working, they were. But you know, I don't know what the commissioners carry in their vehicles, but I would have a chainsaw in mine, and I would be out there doing that, just because I like that stuff. I like getting out there and working with people. It's the same thing when I pass folks out working on the highway or roads doing asphalt work. That's what I'm going to be doing tomorrow, and you can bet that if I seen them folks, I'd be stopping and helping them, just to do it, just because I like working with folks.
Mr. Schweitzer?
Yep. I just want to sincerely thank you all so much, even those of you that didn't vote for me. This has been the opportunity of a lifetime for me. I absolutely love it. Would love to continue doing it for 4 more years. I don't think you go wrong with anybody that's up here. I think anybody that's willing to put their name on a ballot and take the harsh criticism, the things on social media, the tough decisions is very admirable. You know, we're in a really good spot. The momentum's really good. People recognize us not only across the state but across the country for investment for the best colleges in the country. We have a lot going for us right now. I'd love to be able to continue that momentum. It's been the opportunity, like I said, of a lifetime to work with all of you. I appreciate all the friends I've made in county government. You guys mean a lot to me. Even you, Mr. Thacker, Council President, you do a great job. So, you know, love to be a part of the tough conversations. Look forward to continuing for another 4 years. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. On behalf of the League and all of our co-sponsors, we want to thank you all for attending tonight. We want to thank our public safety officer in the back for being here with us. Thank you. We want to thank the candidates for all attending, and we want to remind you all to go to vote411.org, your voter information website. Not all of our candidates have filled those out just yet, but I think they will after today. So thank you all for attending. Have a nice evening.
You too, Tony. I got the chainsaw in the truck.